Hey YouTube, Puff and Snuff here. Ian checking in, as always, from beautiful Northeast Ohio. Got something kind of new going on in the tobacco world, new to me, that I wanted to jump on for a few minutes here and talk about. Got an order today in the mail from MrSnuff, which I was very surprised to see it. I think this is 7 business days, which coming from overseas, I think this beats the fastest delivery I've had by at least a day, probably 2. So, super excited to see the box when I went out to the mail. I'm not going to do a yabo. I got a bunch of snuff. Viking Blonde, the only thing in the order that I've had before. So it's a whole bunch of new stuff, including some Indian snuff, which I really haven't dabbled a whole lot in the Indian snuff world. So, but the really new to me is I'm taking a shot with loose Swedish snus. A quick little primer on snus if you're not familiar. It is very different from American dip, Copenhagen, Skoal, things like that, which I do not care for. I personally find it revolting. I mean, to each their own, but it's not for me. This is also an oral tobacco, but where it is different, one, it is not. There are not nearly the chemical additives or things like that. It is essentially tobacco, whatever natural flavorings they are using, and salt, baking soda, things like that to adjust for pH. So it is very different. You carry it up in the upper lip. It does not generate the saliva production, so you don't have to carry around a cup to spit in, or what is it, mud jug? Is that what they call it? You don't need any of that. Here in my area, you can get snus, but it's in portions, which it's kind of pre-packaged in these little cheese clothy, but not really, little packets. Again, to draw a correlation to American dip, the bandits or the pouches where it's kind of pre-packed and you tuck it down there and then you spit the whole thing out when you're done. Similar kind of idea is what I can get around here locally. But the selection isn't that great. It's one brand. It's General. And I don't really go for, much like the snuffs, I don't really go for the minty and the the spearmint, the wintergreen, the ice, things like that. So I'm pretty much left with a few themes or varieties on the same theme, which is tobacco and bergamot, which is fine. I love bergamot, and in fact, that was the first one I ordered or I opened, was the Thunder Extra Strong, which is tobacco and bergamot. The loose in the can is similar to a fine cut American dip. It is. I mean, you would never think to use it nasally. It's way too moist, and it is way too coarse for that. But it just kind of comes in. It's just kind of comes in the can, and it's So I had expected it to be a little difficult to get the hang of, but it really, you grab what you're going to use and you kind of form it into a little, it just takes there's enough moisture that the heat from your hand it'll just kind of mold and clump together into kind of like a little ball or a little barrel, and you tuck it and go. And I'm really enjoying it. Super comfortable. Tastes very good. Now, to be fair, I'm not going to do a full-blown review on this. One, because this is the first day I've ever experimented with it. And two, one of the snuffs that I got in the order was, even not being a big menthol guy, I thought, what the hell? I'll toss some Löwenpreis in there. And it's menthol. It's certainly menthol. And I don't know if it's a really strong menthol or if it's just that I'm so sensitive to the snuff that I took one boxcar and split it between 2 nostrils about half an hour ago, and I'm still getting the menthol. So I can tell there's good tobacco. I can tell it's slightly salty, and I can certainly pick up the bergamot, but it's being overshadowed by the menthol that I still have in kind of up in the nose and sinus. So don't want to talk too much about this, other than to say I'm very glad I picked up some loose snus. I also got melon and raspberry, so we'll give those a shot in due time. So yeah, that's it. Loose snus. If you're an oral tobacco kind of person, and I'm not much. I mean, I certainly use my fair share of the snus. It's not my preferred, but sometimes a little change of pace from a pipe or from the snuff is kind of welcome. So now, all that said, I haven't taken that out yet, and I anticipate it being a god-awful, messy disaster. When I go to take that out, I'm expecting grit and my teeth to be covered in the stuff, and so we'll see how that goes. So I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's it. All right, that's all from me, guys. Like, subscribe, all those good YouTubey things down below, and we'll see you next time. Take it easy.